What up, what up, what up? Welcome back, welcome back. Well, welcome back, beautiful souls. You are officially tuned in to Live by the Nana show, where we talk about basically life, where how life be life. We talk about life, love, culture, healing, everything in between, upside down, whatever you call it. And of course, I'm your host, Miss Nana Pierce. And today's episode is called Balancing the Hustle and the Healing. And as I told y'all in the previous episode, my hustle right now is my healing. You know what I mean? And honestly, this one's for everyone out there that's trying to chase a dream, while whether it's your body, your spirit is telling you to slow down, whether you're living with chronic illness, mental health challenges, or just burnt out with life itself, whether you are just, well, I see you. I see you. I know what you're going through. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you tuned in. You listening to me, little old Nana. And today we're going to talk about the pressure to perform, the guilt around rest, and how to redefine what success looks like. You feel me? I know a lot of us, that have been used to like certain things for a certain amount of years, which I don't want to get into. Some of us have been doing jobs within the federal for about 30, 40 years, and that's all we knew, you know? And think about it, with 30, 40 years, imagine how much has changed. That's so many generations came in between. So think about that. Basically, those those people that are right now experiencing the shutdown or everything that they're going through, literally, I empathize with you, because you're like a returning citizen. You're coming back not knowing how to do certain things because you had a routine. But let's not get into that, you know. But I do see you. I see you too. And I'm grateful that you get to log in and be here with me. Like I said, we're going to talk about certain things, the pressure, rest. We don't rest, you know what I'm saying? And how to redefine what success looks like, not by how fast we move. I know I get that a lot, but how faithfully we grow. So, without further ado, I appreciate you guys for tuning in. So, let's just keep it real, while we're in this. You know, let's be real. The world really glorifies the grind, right? Let's not even get into the ones that glorify money over the purpose of this life. And to all my believers, you know what I'm talking about. I don't think our purpose was to sit here and make money off of people, or you know what I'm saying. Keyword. I didn't think the planet was supposed to be somewhere that we're supposed to be paying to live at. You feel me? Sometimes who wouldn't want to switch places with a deer? I I mean, I'm grateful to be a human, but still, like, who wouldn't want to switch places with a butterfly? You know, a butterfly that lives its own life. You know, like, that gets to go accordingly to its own cycles. I don't see a butterfly sitting over here thinking about when their next meal is, even though they might, depending on the environment. Of course, us humans are destroying it, but think about it. Like, I don't see certain deers that are just in your backyard. I don't see them thinking about the next paycheck, if they're gonna have enough money, when they could see their fam. Like, nowadays, everybody is like, oh, you know, um, I'm financially incapable. But we can't. Nobody. People are just so caught up with nowadays that with success and grinding and hustling and trying to do for each other, or not each other, but like basically family, that we forget about our own healing. You know what I mean? And healing comes in so many words. You know what I mean? Like I said, us in the world, we glorify the grind. You know what I'm saying? Sleep when you're dead. Keep going. Keep going. You sleep when you're dead. Damn, how do you know that? Did you die and come back? That you telling me to sleep when I'm dead? No, keep going. No days off. That's what you hear. But what if your body demands rest, yo? What if, like with me, for instance, and this is my honest truth, I learned how to say no nowadays because my body is my teacher right now. That's my professor. You know, I don't got a PhD or a master's yet, but I can tell you I got a bachelor's. I'm at a bachelor's level of understanding my body now. And a lot of it comes down to the effect that it's all of what living with MS taught me, which is the hustle without healing is definitely self-destruction. Um, and for instance, you can't pour from an empty cup at all, and you don't have to apologize for taking time to refill it. When like my energy dips or my fatigue kicks in, that used to kind of make me feel less than. Like I wasn't keeping up with society. I wasn't keeping up. But now I know that taking a pause, saying no, is much of a protection. That pause is kind of wisdom to me. And like I said, my condition is the ultimate teacher right now. You feel me? And I'll get into depth with that as we go. But like I said, like my value and your value doesn't decrease because you want to rest. You could say no. And not only that, and I was recently in a book club. Shout out to Miata. And I was in a book club and we spoke about, the sacred rest, and which hopefully one day she'll be a guest, and she could talk about what she picked up from that, what she gathered, the information from that. But like I said, that pause, that rest is wisdom. Your worth isn't measured by productivity or how much you do. I think it's actually measured by peace. And like I said, that's something you have to value above everything else. Yeah, and and like I said, in this episode, I want to talk about more about the hustle and the healing. They coincide. It might mean different to you than it means to me, but some of us are trying to build empires. Rebuild ourselves at the same time, and then also, and don't get me wrong, that's okay. You can be ambitious and tired. Don't get me wrong. You know what I'm saying? Booked and busy. You can be all that. You can be healing and still moving forward. You know what I mean? Like, look at me. I'm juggling the podcast, my creative projects. You know what I mean? Roots and Radiance events, Live by the Nana show, talent managing, businesses, nonprofit, shout out to, egos, all of that. And it's a lot. And now, and more so of, more than anything, I think the greatest project, the most creative project that I have right now, which, we don't look at it this way, is gonna be my health. It's me. I'm that project. It's a lot, but hey, it's not a lot to me. But learn to create, that I've learned to create all of that from a gentle place. You know what I mean? That space, not from panic. Like, oh my God, I gotta go to work. I gotta do this. Even if I have to go to work, I have to know that I need to be mindful. I gotta protect myself. And not to do that from pressure. Like you are in control. Like, trust and believe. A lot of people don't want to deal with all these entities, but that's the beauty of it. That's why we have technology now. That's why we have like all these different opportunities. We went from the industrial times, to I mean, hunting and gathering, to industrial, to farming, and to sharecropping, to what I mean, to working in businesses, to working in banks, to all of that. So just imagine where we're going. And I'm not talking about get you an AI robot either. You know what I'm saying? Don't be that person that says, "Oh yeah, I invested in this." And if you want to do it, do it. But also make sure you're able and capable of sitting down when you accomplish something and saying, "Yo, I did that." Just imagine, like, I'm not really an expert in quantum physics or any of that, but like I told you that from the first episode, putting that I'm gonna walk across the stage in my mind was what got me moving, right? So think about it. Like, it has some sort of like this manifestation effect or whatever the formula is. And I don't even think it's an Albert Einstein formula, which is E equal M squared. No, I think it's you and your mind and what you put into it that's going to do it. So think about it. Think if you accomplish something. Like, let's say you put to your mind like, "Yo, tomorrow I'm going to feed I'm going to feed 5 people on the street." You know what I'm saying? And you end up doing it, but then you still have leftovers and you end up feeding 10 people. You come home, that feeling that you feel good, and next thing you know, all of a sudden you get extra money, or somebody notices you, or it comes back to you tenfold. Like, I always see that. But I think a lot of it has to do with the accomplishment, the fact that, you know the rest, like, I don't want to sound like I'm all over the place, but the fact that I could put that peace to my mind and say, "Yo, I'm not going to push it." I didn't do it from a pressure, but imagine how many people be in traffic like, "Oh, I got to go to work," be so miserable, be like, "Can't wait till I get off of work." Yo, and these people are making like over the certain amount of money. Think about people that used to be on the field getting 25 cents a month or a week. Like, could you do it? Could you do it? I know I couldn't. You know what I'm saying? But that's because, once it's like in our human nature that once we get spoiled, you like what they say, what's the saying? Give them an inch, they take a mile. Yeah. You give us a millimeter, we take a centimeter, and it keeps going. You know what I'm saying? Keep going and going and going. Like, it's just, we can't get enough. We can't get enough. And then it's to a point that we think we're not enough and we're entitled to so many things. But we're not even going to get into all of that. You feel me? But that is the myth of like the constant hustle. You know what I mean? And being able to heal while you're building, not doing it from pressure or panic. And if you're listening right now, I want you to remind yourself you're allowed to go at your own pace, yo. Slow creation is still creation. Like, think about it. Sometimes what you think is a delay is actually divine timing. Like I said, it's divine timing. That is beautiful. I've seen people say, "Oh, I've been working on this dress for 3 months," versus people that said, "I worked on this dress within 2 hours." You know what I mean? Once you put your mind into something, you take your patience. Let me tell you this, and this is an honest God truth. There's a book that I started writing script in. It was in German, like years ago when I was a kiddie, like a kid, not a kitty, but a kid. And from there, I got into like mid chapter, and believe it or not, I went back and I read the story, and I said, "Wow, that's amazing!" Like, I'm doing a dialogue. She said, "So sad," while they looked at each other, and I'm a kid. How did I do that? I didn't know how to script write. I didn't go to school for that. I mean, I was still learning, you know, I was still learning fifth grade math, and I'm sitting here writing like that. So what I did is I actually added and I finished the story, like making it as a like a 30 years later type of thing, you know. And believe it or not, I went back and reread the whole thing, and just my imagination took me somewhere else. But guess what? It's a great piece of art right now that I'm sitting on. If I was to give it to somebody and say, hey, you want to look into this story, it's not because of what the content is. It's about the fact that I took my time. It's what's behind it, you know. And I'm sure if you're listening right now, any directors, you know, Shonda Rhimes, if you listening, you're, you know, Gene Jones, if you know anyone, let me know. but but like I said, you know, everything is divine timing. But not only that, you got to learn how to set boundaries, and which is something that's important for me to talk about, you know, because boundaries, I calculate them as self-love. If you love yourself, you're going to set boundaries, you know. Like I said, you know, like setting boundaries doesn't mean that you're mean, that you're angry. It means you respect your capacity, you respect your space. I'm used to feeling bad for saying no. Like, I used to feel bad. I'd be tired, you know, leg numb, can't even feel my toes. But as soon as my homegirls call, like, yo, you know, it's so and so birthday party, you coming out, and we you know, do you know, I used to do events and stuff, party promoting. They'd be like, hey, you coming out? You coming out, Nana? What you doing? And I'm like, yeah, I'll come out, you know, because I used to feel bad, you know. And then the worst part about it, especially when I had to cancel, nowadays when I have to cancel on birthdays and certain things and step back from something because my body said, hey, enough is enough, you know. But those are boundaries, because boundaries don't block blessings, honestly. If you think about it, when have you set a boundary and it blocked a blessing? Think, just take a moment and think about it. Okay, right. I thought so. Well, to me, they don't block it. If anything, I feel like boundaries actually protect your blessings, you know? And you deserve to protect your peace without guilt. Who doesn't? You're you. You know what I mean? So you deserve to rest without explaining yourself. And sometimes you use that D&D button. You know what I'm saying? Of course, you know, you don't want to miss out on certain things and feel any guilt about, you know, some of us feel guilt about not being able to talk to somebody they love, and next day that person is no longer with us. And that's one of my greatest guilts, you know. That's what used to keep me going. But at this moment, I just keep peace, and I come to accept it, that love, near or far, those that love me would understand, you know what I mean. And sometimes the most spiritual thing that you can do, or anybody can do, is guess what? Just take a guess. Yup, is to take a nap. That is the most spiritual thing. You don't know where you're gonna go. I think, to me, taking a nap is very spiritual. You know, people say, damn, you sleep too much. No, I don't. It's spiritual. Not only spiritual, it's healing. You know, it's healing. It's healing in so many ways. And not to mention, we don't know where we're going in the dream world. You know what I'm saying? That's a whole different hustle on its own. You know what I mean? But I'm not saying everybody believes in dreams, you know, not those dreams, but the dreams that we have when we go to sleep. But yo, I'm trying to tell you, like, when it comes to, like, the most spiritual thing you could do is just take a nap and rest or meditate. Those are very spiritual. I mean, I fell asleep in the middle of meditating, fell asleep and slept peacefully, and then woke up and I felt brand new, you know. And there were moments where I couldn't move, you know, where I couldn't think straight, where I couldn't even imagine doing what I'm doing now, like talking to y'all, leaving this message, you know, for the next person that wants to hear it. No, but every time I sat in stillness, I realized that God wasn't punishing me. He was preparing me, you know. And healing teaches me, it taught me patience. It teaches you patience, I feel like, you know, when you're healing. Like, imagine if, you know, like me, when I had to get my hip replaced, you literally are stuck in bed for 4 to 6 months. You can't move even, or your new hip would dislocate. I don't wish that on nobody, but I'm trying to tell you that itself takes a lot of patience. Being in bed for that long. And it humbles you. You know, but it also refines your purpose. It also refines your purpose. You hear me? And I'm gonna say it again. It refines your purpose. So if you're in like a slow season, don't fight it. Flow with it. Like flow with it. Like, what I'm saying? Just go smooth with it. You know what I mean? Because most of the time when you rush things, it backfires. I feel like that's the whole. You know what I'm saying? That's the whole curse that comes with trying to do stuff real quick. I'm not saying don't grab an opportunity while it's available right then and there. And please don't get it misconstrued. I'm not talking about if an opportunity fell on your lap that you're supposed to procrastinate, because procrastination and healing and taking your time is two different things. And it's not what I mean by flow with it, or rush into it, or like procrastinate with it. Like, oh, I'm gonna do it tomorrow. I'm gonna do it tomorrow. No, if you have the time, do it. It's a huge difference. I wish I could say I'm gonna do it tomorrow. Half of the time when I want to do it, I can't. It's not that I can't. It's just, like I said, MS is my teacher, and you know what I'm saying. It's definitely like refines my purpose in so many ways. But once again, like I said, if you're in a slow season right now, and which a lot of us are in a slow season, and like I said, I'm gonna empathize with everybody. There's people right now that don't know when the next meal is gonna come in for their kid, and I empathize with you. You know what I mean? Like, it's definitely unfortunate that we're in the nation, the world's capital, as we used to be called, and we can't even think about how we're gonna pay for the roof over our head. How are we gonna do what we need to do? You know what I'm saying? But like I said, healing isn't a setback; it's a setup, and it's a setup for your future, definitely. And I want to make sure that all my listeners are, you know, aware that certain things that I talk about is for educational purposes or entertainment purposes, or just me speaking to my story. I don't want you to wake up tomorrow and say, you know what? I'm not going to class today because Nana said, you know, I'm in the slow season. I need to take my time and my peace. No, it comes with a lot of discipline, self-discipline, self-awarding, and and of course, bunch of like affirmations and so forth. But before anything, you know, I want to close this episode with a simple reminder, and I want y'all to remember this and write it down if you have to. Jot it down. But this is one of my Nana says, so my pace is my peace. I'm not behind, I'm aligned. Just keep saying that. My pace is my peace. I'm not behind, I'm aligned. You know, like my pace is my peace. I'm not behind, I'm aligned. You know what I mean? I'm taking my time. Like, I'm hold up now. I'm not about to start freestyling or nothing. That's for another episode. But, like I said, my pace is my peace. I'm not behind, I'm aligned. And you can still bloom while healing. You can still rise while resting. You can still be everything you're meant to be, even while recovering from what tired used to be. That did kind of rhyme. But yeah, I'm like that. But like I said, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of the things that we go through, sometimes our pride and our ego takes over, and for somebody, to all my MS warriors, I know you could relate on what I mean when I say our MS. The MS is our teacher, because sometimes you wake up and you're blind. Sometimes you wake up and you can't talk. Sometimes you wake up and your hearing is gone. And yes, I have hearing aids. um, and I'm not deaf, but at the end of the day, you don't know what's going on. Because today, I woke up, I'm feeling okay. I'm ready to do this episode. I'm static. I'm happy because this is my connection to y'all. That's tuning into me. But tomorrow, who knows? Who knows? But the way I mean by it being a teacher, even more of a spiritual teacher, is the fact that I know if I stress today, it's going to show up on my body. I may not see, I may not be able to speak. It's been days that I want to say a word that I know so bad, but it's not coming out. And a lot of it has to do with that. And think about it. What if one day you're sitting here and you're looking at a water bottle and you want to reach for it and you can't grab it? And I've had instances like that. And the person is looking at me that's right next to me like, yo, grab this bottle. What are you doing? I've seen people, I hand them a bottle. Can you please open it for me? And they be like, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with your hands? Your hands ain't cut off. Stuff like that. Those are trauma triggers. It triggers. You know what I mean? So also be mindful of what you say to people. Things like when somebody sees me and be like, girl, you better chop, hurry up. You know what I'm saying? What? I can't. Look, first of all, I'm not Shakari. And shout out to you. But I'm also, I'm also not that behind. And just because you don't see me with a wheelchair or with a walker, that doesn't define how I feel. Like I tell people, I don't look like how I feel half of the time. You know what I'm saying? I don't look like what I feel. And I was really thinking about hopefully maybe someday I could write a book about that and different scenarios and how it could happen. Only those that understand. Like I've spoke to a fellow MS warrior who was my Uber driver, and she literally told me, she said one of the first symptoms she had was, she couldn't understand it, and nobody understands it because they're looking at you and it's not visible. You know what I mean? Their thing is, this person was just smiling. They're happy, but I'm not seeing nothing wrong. Why does something have to be wrong for something to be wrong? You know what I'm saying? Like, let me say it correctly. Why does something has to be physically wrong for something to be wrong with the person? You know what I mean? Like somebody could be, how many people right now are sitting here smiling or sitting here listening to me right now, and all they want is somebody to be heard, for them to be heard. And by the way, if you just want to talk to somebody, DM me at The Real Nana Pierce. Email me, LiveByTheNana@gmail. Whatever it takes. If you want to talk to someone, don't ever think you could just give up, because of the fact that everything is so overwhelming, And a lot of us are here. And trust me, and for some of my MS warrior that are listening to here, yo, keep fighting, yo, keep fighting. And I hope this brings you some sort of like hope to know that you could still put on some heels. You could still go and rock that purse. You can still throw that dress on. You can still go to brunch. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter if you're with your cane. It doesn't matter if you're with your walker. For whatever it means, hit me up. Be like, yo, Nana, you know what I'm saying? What do you want to do? Do you want to go to brunch? Let's go. If it's not a day that I need to use the walker, but I'll still do it with you. Be bad and bougie on a cane, walker. Who cares? You know what I'm saying? We have to break these barriers, teach these people. That's how people learn. They don't learn, this stigmatism they have within society that a person with a walker or a cane, something is wrong with them, and they're not supposed to be in heels or crop tops or be able to do the It Depends by Chris Brown dance because they're not. No. Like, we're supposed to be having fun. Have fun. Live your life. Don't let anybody speak for you in that matter at all. And I know we're coming close to the end of our nice episode. I hope I didn't blabber too much. you know. Nana Pearson, please. I love to talk, y'all know. Pundy, please. And speaking of that, I want to send my prayers to everyone that's in Jamaica. You know, um, we're here with you. You know, we're here with you, and whatever we can do, you know what I'm saying? Check on your people. Make sure you send them all the love. You know, we have to be a unity, you know, especially for our brown skinned folks. You understand? You have to be there for each other. Be there for each other. You know, like even if the media is not showing it, they too busy talking about something different and shutdowns. There's people losing their life, you know. So I need y'all to look into that. There's somebody you went to school with, somebody you had a crush on, somebody that made you the best bomb Jamaican food. You know what I'm saying? Somebody has family or something that they can't reach right now. Go and reach out to them. Go do that. You know what I'm saying? Go do that. Go feed somebody tomorrow. Go help somebody with the groceries and make sure you're safe doing that too, because the world is crazy out there. But still, like I said, go check up on somebody. The minute you hear a reggae beat, go check up on somebody. I mean, come on now. Do whatever you have to do. Just be a human. Be a human. But like I said, I appreciate everyone for tuning in today. On top of the blabber, you know, I do everything off the top of my head. You know, I hopefully, you know, I was able to give you guys some type of motivation on how to chase dreams without burning out, especially while managing chronic illness like mine's, like MS, you know. And yeah, so once again, I appreciate all and everybody. I want to, but the main biggest shout out goes to everything DMV, Big Bach, for giving me the opportunity to utilize the platform. Every artist, please make sure to log into everythingdmv.com. I mean, dmvradio.com. Once you see this link, subscribe to Everything DMV Radio. My links will be coming soon, but if anything is at the real Nana Pierce on Instagram, every at Everything DMV radio on Instagram, and please make sure to lock in any artist. If you're a hungry artist, you want to be interviewed, you want your music spin, consultation for business, whatever it is, make sure to holla at Big Bach, like I said. And most of all, I want to make sure that all my queens are queens and kings are taking care of each other. You know, all my princes and princesses are taking care of, you know, themselves too. And last but not least, I want to shout out, you know, the Most High, you know, the boss of the all bosses, and also shout out, you know, my mom and everybody, those that have been there with me through thick and thin, my best friends, you know, my cousins, my sisters, the Bizzle Gang, shout out, you know what I mean. And if you like to share your story or be a guest on an upcoming episode, let me know. And don't forget, you know, I want to thank you again for tuning in to Live by the Nana Show. If this touched you, please share it with someone who needs a gentle reminder that slowing down is still progress. You know what I mean? Your pace is your peace, you know, and I love y'all. Peace out.